Sure enough, the Mazda 3 looks sporty and aggressive, but the rear quarter panel is certainly not the best view of this car. It seems so bulky. In fact, that C-pillar is so huge that it somewhat creates a claustrophobic feel in the second row. But looks are subjective, so do let me know your thoughts. The new kid in town, the Auris replacement, which is the 2019 Toyota Corolla Sport E210, seems to be taking the market with a storm, and chances are that it may unsettle the dominance of the Mazda Axela because let's face it, this new Corolla looks quite good, handles very well, and there's much more to like about it. It's generally better than this car, which is the previous third generation Mazda Axela. But why compare the new Corolla Sport with the older Axela when there's a new generation of the Axela, which is now known simply as the Mazda 3? The JDM Axela nameplate has been axed in favor of the Mazda 3. You're going to be finding out if this new Mazda is still going to maintain its dominance, as well as if it's worth buying over the new stunning Corolla Sport. So please stay tuned. And as always, if you find this content helpful, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more informative content on cars and bikes. Welcome to Ikevoto Reviews. So this new 2019 Corolla is the 12th generation, which has been in production from 2018 till present. And as I've said earlier, it's the car that has replaced the Toyota Auris. This car is available in two variations, either a hatchback or a wagon. The 2019 Mazda 3, on the other hand, is the fourth generation, which has been in production from 2019 till present, and it's also available in two variations, either a hatchback or a saloon. Straight away, let's delve into their engine options, beginning with the Corolla Sport. Now, the most common engine options in Kenya are only two. These are options that are available in Japan, and as we all know, we mostly import from Japan. The first option is a 1200cc turbocharged 8 NRFTS that produces 116 horsepower. Then there's an 1800 hybrid 2ZR FXC that produces a combined power output of roughly 120 horsepower. This car is available in either front or all-wheel drive. For the 1200cc, you can get either 6-speed manual or a K120 CVT gearbox, which is quite unique in the sense that it has a physical first gear, specifically to enable for better launches off the line. This car picks up speed faster off the line compared to the Auris that had a CVT gearbox without the physical first gear. So it's an interesting and intelligent gearbox combination from Toyota. The last gearbox option is a K313 eCVT that comes exclusively paired with hybrid variants. Apart from these two engine options, there are several other options available in other markets such as China and Europe, where there's a 1500cc, 1600cc, and 2000cc, but getting those locally may not be easy. Now, these two engine options are pretty good in terms of reliability. The 1.2 liter feels spirited off the line thanks to the turbo plus the physical first gear, if you go for the variant with the K120 CVT. If you go for the 6-speed manual, it gets even better as the gear shifts are sleek and more responsive. But as the trends have changed, not most people will go for the manual. And by the way, if you didn't know, the manual is in fact more simple and tough compared to the CVT. Though I'm not saying the CVT is unreliable, if you drive the car decently and ensure that the CVTF is changed at the recommended mileage, then it will last and perform well for years and years. Sometimes what kills these CVTs is reckless driving and failure to change the CVTF, or even using poor quality CVTFs. That said, this 1.2 liter turbo is generally good, but as I've always said, with any turbocharged engine, you must be careful with how you maintain it. It will only be reliable if you maintain it well. The 1.8 liter hybrid, on the other hand, is excellent in terms of efficiency. This is a proven formula from Toyota. They have been doing these hybrids for over 2 decades and they have nailed it. This hybrid is super reliable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are 100% faultless. We have seen some Toyota hybrids fail, like in the Aqua, but they are not rampant cases. For the most part, these hybrids are very solid. Power-wise, it's not outrageous, it's just decent and slightly more powerful compared to the 1.2-liter turbo, but heavier. So the power to weight ratio plays in favor of the 1.2-liter turbo, and no wonder it feels very spirited. On to the Mazda 3. This one comes with a plethora of options. There's a 1500cc which gives out around 120 horsepower. Secondly, there's a 2000cc with two variations. One is the G variant and the other is the X variant. The G variant produces around 155 horsepower, while the X around 178 horsepower. The difference between the two engines in simpler terms is that the X is ignited by both spark and compression, so the compression ratio is better than that of the G, and this ensures slightly more power. This is a very intelligent technology from Mazda. Lastly, there is an 1800cc turbo diesel that produces 118 horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque. For this generation, Mazda dropped the 2200cc turbo diesel in favor of this 1800cc that has also been used in the CX-3. Transmission-wise, it's straightforward. There is either a 6-speed Skyactiv automatic or a manual with the same number of ratios as the automatic, and power can either be transmitted to the front or all wheels. So in terms of reliability, if you want absolute reliability, the 1.5 liter or 2.0 liter are your best bets. They are easy to maintain and devoid of too many complexities. The diesel, on the other hand, is sensitive. It can be reliable, but with time and high mileage, chances of issues to do with the DPF, injectors, and turbo may crop up. And it also depends on how well you maintain that engine. But generally, I would just recommend either the 1.5 or 2.0 liter. In other markets such as the US, there are other options like the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated as well as the turbo option. Then in Europe, there's even a mild hybrid of the 2000cc option. Consumption-wise, the 1.2 liter turbo in the Corolla can achieve roughly between 15 to 19 kilometers per liter. This is very good, but only if you are a decent driver. This being a turbocharged engine, if you decide to be aggressive, the consumption will skyrocket. As for the hybrid, Toyota claims it can get up to an excellent 34 kilometers per liter, of course depending on how you drive as well as how you maintain the car. The 1.5 liter in the Mazda 3 is also very efficient, in fact just as good as the 1.8 liter diesel. This 1.5 can attain figures of between 15 to 20 kilometers per liter, the 2.0 between 13 to around 16 kilometers per liter, and lastly the diesel up to an impressive 20 kilometers per liter. So generally speaking, these two cars are both very efficient. They both also have almost equivalent fuel tank capacities, with the Mazda exceeding that of the Corolla by just 1 liter. The carb weight of the Corolla measures in between 1240 to 1510 kgs for the hatchback versions, while the estate versions measure between 1300 to about 1560 kgs. The Mazda 3 measures between 1342 to 1427 kgs. Suspension-wise, both cars get McPherson struts at the front. Then at the back, the Corolla gets a double wishbone setup, while the Mazda gets a more simplistic and affordable to replace torsion bar setup. In this particular aspect, the Corolla is more advanced, especially in terms of handling. This new suspension uses linear solenoid type adaptive variable suspension, which instantly adjusts the damping force for each wheel according to the road surfaces and driving conditions to deliver a comfortable and luxurious drive on any road surface conditions. In fact, Toyota claims this new suspension underwent 600 tests using different combinations of oils and components to achieve a responsive steering. And by the way, it's also the first Toyota front-wheel drive car in Japan to use this technology. Though do take note that it's not standard in every variant. This complex suspension only comes in two trim levels. These are the GZ and Hybrid GZ. The rest of the variants just come with the normal McPherson struts at the front and double wishbones at the back. Stopping power in both cars is made possible by ventilated discs at the front and solid discs at the back. Then as for ground clearance, again they are both evenly matched, measuring in at alloy 135mm, but I wouldn't advise anyone to modify the clearance. If you frequently just stick on tarmac or even maram roads, then try and just live with the car like that, because modifying the clearance will interfere with the looks of these cars as well as the handling. On the other hand, if you will also be driving on some poor roads, then just install slightly larger wheels. They will slightly increase the clearance without affecting the handling or the looks of these vehicles. This is something that has worked for so many drivers out there, so please consider it. How about safety? These being newer vehicles, all the intelligent active safety features have been thrown in. In fact, the Corolla is the safer car here, as it comes with all the features as standard across the board. It comes with 8 airbags, a pre-collision safety system that detects pedestrians during the day and night, as well as bikes during the day only. It also gets radar cruise control, lane trace assist, automatic high beams, and road sign assist. All those are standard. As for the Mazda 3, not all the features are standard. Some of them are optional and you can only get them in higher trim levels. So these features include blind spot detection, driver attention alert, lane keeping assist, road sign recognition, collision mitigation, and rear cross traffic alert. Something to take note of about these active safety features is that in the unfortunate event your Toyota or Mazda logo gets hit, or even the windscreen gets hit, then your active safety features will be rendered null and void. And I can tell you for a fact that restoring these active safety features is very expensive and sometimes even impossible to fix because of their complexity. So please be careful. And by the way, it's not just the safety features that are expensive to restore. Most of the parts of these cars are very expensive. For example, a headlight alone in both cars will set you back well over 100,000 shillings. That's just the headlight. You've not factored in the grille, bumper, etc. So you can just imagine how costly the repairs will be if you happen to get involved in a frontal collision. Now, depending on the trim level, you can get features such as a sunroof, fog lights, leather interior, larger sportier alloy wheels, and the aforementioned complex suspension system in the Corolla Sport. Then in the Mazda, you can get features such as a sunroof, a heads-up display, 360 degrees parking camera, and an electric driver seat with memory function, and even a premium Bose audio system. So in that front, the Mazda takes the day. What about the prices? Currently, a 2019 Corolla Sport will set you back anywhere between 2.1 to around 2.55 million, depending on the trim level, while a 2019 Mazda 3 between 2.0 to around 2.35 million. Before we discuss about value for money, let's also talk about their designs, pros and cons. And then as we wrap up, I'll give my recommendation. Now, there's no denying that this time Toyota nailed it with this Corolla Sport. This one is a head turner, especially the GZ variant with the two-tone paintwork and the larger sporty alloy wheels. It really looks sporty, youthful, and aggressive. I reckon this time it has edged out the Mazda Axela, the third generation to be precise. But what about this newer fourth generation? I would say it also looks aggressive, but that rear quarter panel is contentious. It seems so bulky and not so good looking from a certain angle. But anyway, looks are subjective, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But personally, my pick in terms of the exterior design is the Corolla Sport. Though I should also mention that the saloon version of the Mazda 3 doesn't have that huge C-pillar. It in fact looks better. Moving on into the interior, the Mazda 3 takes the day. It has a very premium look and feel, certainly better than that of the Corolla Sport. The Mazda just feels luxurious. Even the infotainment system is quite good. The display is crisp and intuitive and feels a class above the one in the Corolla. Well, the Corolla's interior design is also good, much improved but not up to the Mazda's standard. In terms of the interior space, this is now where the Corolla Sport loses. The second row is not that spacious. In fact, three tall adults will not be very comfortable on a long journey. When you look at the Toyota Auris, it was slightly more spacious, but this Corolla isn't. It's almost like as if they focused more on style than practicality. Even the boot isn't that spacious. It's just decent for a small family. The Mazda 3 is slightly better in that regard. It's actually longer even compared to the previous generation, and this has translated in slightly better interior space, though there's something to take note of. This huge C-pillar and rising waistline may make the rear occupants feel a bit claustrophobic. Then even the driver's view at the back is a bit compromised because of that huge rear quarter panel, huge C-pillar and narrow rear window envelope. But aside from that, this car is slightly more spacious compared to the Corolla Sport, and the same can be said about the boot. On to their pros and cons, the Corolla has good looks, it's very reliable and fuel efficient, handles well, especially for variants with the adaptive variable suspension, and lastly, it's a safe car considering most active safety features are standard across the board. The cons or weak points are limited interior space, low ground clearance, and very expensive spare parts. Though with time, as this car becomes more and more common, the prices may go down as most dealers will stock them. The Mazda 3 has a very premium build quality. It's efficient, it's comfortable, it's feature loaded, slightly more spacious compared to the Corolla, and also handles well thanks to its G-vectoring technology that enhances handling and stability by subtly adjusting engine torque and braking force in response to the steering inputs. Lastly, it offers better value, and I'll explain this shortly. Onto its cons, it has low ground clearance, feels a bit claustrophobic at the second row, and like the Toyota, being a new car, its spares are quite expensive. So there you have it. Which car should you go for? And secondly, has the Corolla Sport dethroned the Mazda 3? Let me first answer the second question. These cars are very close. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, as we've seen, the Corolla handles quite well, looks good and is safer, while the Mazda 3 is more feature loaded and has a premium build quality. Generally speaking, Toyota has seriously improved, and with this new Corolla Sport, there's no question that it's going to unsettle the dominance of the Mazda 3 in the Kenyan market. Yes, the Mazda 3 has also improved. In fact, let me put it this way. The Mazda has taken two steps ahead. The Toyota was far behind, but it has taken four steps ahead and almost caught up with the Mazda. Now, to answer the first question, these cars are almost evenly priced, but depending on the trim level, the Corolla may be slightly more expensive, especially the higher trim levels. What I mean is that to get a high spec Corolla, you may have to pay almost 2.5, but to get a high spec Mazda, you may pay a maximum of around 2.35 or at most 2.4. So generally, the Mazda seems like a better value proposition, especially also considering that it's more spacious. But if that slight more space is not your priority, then you can go for the Corolla, maybe a mid-trim level that is going for around 2.1, 2.2-ish million. But most importantly, go and test drive both cars, have a feel of both to help you decide on which one appeals best to you. Do let me know which one you would prefer. These cars are both so good that making a decision can be challenging, and that's why it's important to go and have a good look at both to help you decide on which one to go for. My personal pick would be the Corolla Sport, though I'm also very tempted by the saloon version of the Mazda 3. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, if you have any enquiries, feel free to reach me via WhatsApp or email. Stay safe, ride and drive safe. But before you go, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button.